Hi, I'm Passle Helminski from Erie, Pennsylvania, and you're listening to White Canes Connect.
Hey there, PA Federationists. Welcome to another episode of White Canes Connect, presented by the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. My name is David Goldstein. I am the treasurer of the Keystone Chapter. Joining me today as co-host and Keystone Chapter second vice president, Lisa Bryant. Lisa, how are you today?
I'm doing well, David, and I'm really excited to have one of our own as today's guest.
Yeah, we have someone who is multi-talented, always makes me feel bad when I can't do one of the things that she's doing, but she's doing two great things. She's an artist and she runs in marathons and things like that. Just outstanding stuff that she's doing. And Lisa, Passle was a great guest and she had a lot of great information.
Yeah, listen to her incredible journey and the story behind the name Passle. Where did that come from?
I thought that was very interesting. She does art. She's shown in many different shows. Coming up soon, she'll be in the New York Marathon. Again, a lot of things that blind people think they can't do. She's doing both things. So let's take a listen and hear what she has to say. Passle, thanks so much for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, and so nice to have you on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, however much you want to share about your where you're from, your blindness journey, and how you first came to the NFB?
I live in Erie, Pennsylvania, right next to Lake Erie. We're about 500 yards away from Lake Erie, our property here. I was assaulted in 1993 trying to train for the New York City Marathon. I had a coach here in Erie and I had a coach in Buffalo. And the coach in Buffalo, Howard Jacobson says, there's potential in me if I take 3 minutes off my time in New York City. They were having the showcase of race walking. It was not an Olympic event yet, but I could make the cut to be on the Olympic team for the showcase event. Unfortunately, I was assaulted in a parking lot. The person broke my left carotid artery. So my left carotid artery, my neck, internal carotid artery is occluded, and my right is holding at 50% from the assault. My hospital didn't realize I was stroking out. So they didn't do a CAT scan on me until 4 hours later. My fiance at the time, he's now my wonderful husband, was talking to the doctors and they thought maybe I did some drugs. So they pumped my stomach and she's like, no, she's training for the New York City Marathon. They found nothing. 4 hours later, the CAT scan, they said, oh, so much blood in the brain. She may be dead within 48 hours. And I didn't die. So I started my journey back. I had to learn to move my right side again, speak again. My speech was really, really rough. I missed a hand appointment with one of my hand specialists here, and he overruled the neurologist and got me a speech therapist, but physical therapy was not really laid out for me there. So when I got out of the hospital, my sister took me, we fired the neurologist there. My sister took me to her family doctor. He thought they could fix my dissected internal carotid artery. He called Cleveland Clinic. The person he wanted me to see there was on vacation, called Pittsburgh. I saw a vascular surgeon in Pittsburgh the next day. He's like, I can't fix it. They could have fixed it in Erie, but they waited too long to do a CAT scan, and they waited too long. I think they waited 4 days to do an angio on me at that point. Had they did an angio earlier on, they probably could have seen it and fixed it, but that's behind me too. So he found me a good neurologist, Dr. Wexler, and he said the only reason I survived that type of injury is because I was in such good shape. Unfortunately, Dr. Wexler is now in Philadelphia. So you have a wonderful neurologist there.
So were you during all of this, was your vision still intact or immediately after the assault did you lose your vision?
Well, it's a cortical injury. So it's the way the brain is not seeing things properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Health South where they had the stroke support group there, and they had a wonderful neurologist there, and they had an eye specialist there. And he understood stroke people's vision problems. And I told him I already had a wonderful neuro eye specialist that Dr. Wexler recommended. And so, he did different visual fields on me, which changed from time to time. He understood why I see overlapping images. He saw when I could see just bright colors. He understood when bright lights are in my eyes, I can't see anything at all. So he explained things to me. And I'm still part of the stroke support group from 1993 till now.
Wow.
And that's when I found out about the Federation for the Blind, because the neurologists there and the eye specialists there say Federation of the Blind meets here once a month in our cafeteria.
That is so interesting that usually you ask a doctor, especially an eye doctor, what can I do now that I've lost my sight? What should I do? Any kind of organization like that is the last thing that they tell you. And that's funny. And I wonder if it's because they met there and that's how it was right on the top of their mind.
Health South, which now Encompass, they specialize in brain injuries and recovering from brain injuries. So they know. And thank God the Federation had an agreement with them to have free meeting space there. Sometimes we will meet in the cafeteria unless they had something going in the cafeteria, and they had like a side room too. And it was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Being there until COVID happened. Then we'd have to meet virtually, like Zoom.
So you mentioned that you see images overlap.
Correct. It depends on how tired I am, on how messed up my vision is. And it depends on how tired I am, how good my speech is, how good my movement is.
So you've always been running? Or how long, when did you get the running bug?
Oh, well, because as a child, I never crawled. I pulled myself up on my tippy toes and I ran everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I was that way. I was born with ants in my pants. I cannot sit still. And it was really depressing for me not to do these things. So my husband, my wonderful husband, Ron Helminski, married me in spite of not knowing how well I've recovered. And he takes me to my races now.
So I think you just ran
a half marathon. Yeah,
just a few days ago, right?
Yeah, I walked it quickly. I was tweaking my form. I was hydrating. I call his cousin my cousin because I've known him with Erie Runners Club longer than I've known my husband. And so Rick was kind enough to help me with the race, and we crossed the finish line with our arms raised high over our heads.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So he's kind of my coach for the New York City Marathon with the Achilles International. I have to shout out to Connie Shu. She was kind enough to tell me, oh, we have a Zoom thing. It's about, exercising it. And then somebody from Achilles International was on there. And now I'm a proud member of Achilles International.
I think that's a great inspiration, how you have kept up with that. So good for you. So that's just one part of your story, though. You have a love of art.
Yeah. And let me say, it took me 25 years to do my first 5K. It wasn't pretty, but I finished it. And now I'm doing, like half marathons, and it helps me with my art. From the age of 2, I could pick up a pencil and draw. So I had to double major because my dad says you can't make a living being an artist. So, and then I went from drawing realistically to realistic oil painting. My sister started her own yarn business, so I started 3D art with her. So I started some funky stuff. Then I had to wait until I could afford to pay my way through my MA and my MFA, but my stroke happened in the last year of my MFA. So my fiance or my sister drove me to school, took notes for me, drove me back home. I was sadly talking to one of my art history professors. She's like, well, don't be sad. Most of the famous artists had a visual impairment.
Huh.
So keep going. So I was adjunct at Mercer's College, again, a university. I still teach at the Inner City Art House. I've gotten 2 Mid-Atlantic grants for and brought it back to Pennsylvania, where I worked with the Keystone Blind Association, their blind kids. And then I did a class for Lynn with her organization. And I just love to push people's boundaries. When I have a problem with my art, I do mileage, you know, when I have problems with something else, or I go to my flute and play the flute. They're all interconnected. I cannot separate these areas from my life at all.
Yeah. And your art has been on display, correct?
Oh, my art is on display currently. I have a piece in a national show. It's called Red Dog, and it's actually a miniature dog made out of red yarn that I have to keep away from my golden retriever guide dog, because she'll think it's, oh, what a good toy it is. So that's in a national show right now in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I was just shipped to the State of the Art in Pennsylvania. I was lucky enough to get juried in that show last year, and they did an interview of 3 artists who had disabilities, and the juror didn't know we have disabilities. So we had a video chat for a lunch hour. We discussed how our disabilities really push our art forms, and how wonderful it is that people don't realize that we have a disability.
Yeah.
When I showed at the Chautauqua Institute, and I got an award from a major art critic, one artist from New York City, she's like, how? Look at you and your dog. How can you get this award? And Donald, the juror, came up to me and put his arms around me. And he goes to the other artist, tell me about your art. And she's blah, 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 blah. He goes, that doesn't match the art history title you put on it. That's why she got the award and you didn't. So yes. I just shipped to the State of the Art in Pennsylvania again. My work just came back from Westmoreland. Somewhere else, I can't remember.
Have you sold any works?
All the time, because I price my pieces very reasonably. So I don't have a pile of art around me.
Right.
Because I want my art to grow and change and evolve. So I just got into the Chautauqua Institute's membership show, so I have to pack up 2 pieces and ship them there. And I'm waiting on three other shows.
How is the word getting out about you?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, I enter shows. I'm a member of guilds in the Artists Association of Pittsburgh, the Northwest Pennsylvania Artists Association here, the Pittsburgh Artists Guild, our Lake Erie Fiber Guild here. So I'm exposed to shows, and I like the challenges of some titles of the shows. So I just keep experimenting and put it out there. And if I don't get in a show, I don't have hurt feelings. So I have 2 or 3 more pieces to enter another show. You know, and I have a list of shows I always want to try. Why not try? What do you have to lose?
And you said it's paintings, and would that be considered mixed media, that Red Dog?
Oh, Red Dog, yes. He's definitely a mixed media. I'm actually, my paintings have turned into almost finger paintings now. Because I like to feel the vibration of different colors in my hands.
How much time do you spend typically or I suppose it depends, but
It depends. It depends on the day. I don't contrive any of my pieces. If they don't talk back to me, if they're not in 3/4 time, then I walk away until they want to get their
Mhm.
act together and do good music with me.
You're really an artist. You have to have some relationship, sounds
Exactly.
like, with your work,
In
which is
my suspended pieces, I tell people to interact with my suspended pieces. Oh, I'm in the Please Touch show right now in Seattle. I'm the featured artist. That's the show I forgot. Um, and it's a visually impaired artist, and the curator of the gallery is visually impaired herself. When we
hmm,
show a lot in Second Sense in Chicago.
okay.
So and then Second Sense opened a door for the Art Institute of Chicago. They wanted to do a multi-sensory gallery.
Hmm.
So they interviewed like 40 artists, some from Second Sense. And I was one of the 14 artists they picked. So I did, my piece had to fit into a 10 by 10 by 3-inch square
Hmm.
and had to be multi-sensory. So I did like a tubular knitting and I stuffed it with rushing and I stitched it all together by hand. And then when you touch it, you can flick the different rushing because the rushing is different lengths and makes different sounds and tones. So that's going to be in their new multi-sensory gallery they're building there
Hmm.
in the Art Institute of Chicago.
And you also teach. Tell us
Mhm.
about that. How did you get started with teaching? And tell us about some of, because you and I had a conversation prior, and you have quite some stories of how you've inspired some of your students.
Oh, one student, uh, let's call his name Paul, because he doesn't want his real name out there because he's a good artist now and he's selling in New York City. He's with my 2 Mid-Atlantic grants in Sharon, PA, with the Keystone Blind Association. The first grant I did with him, they had to make 3D like quilted art wall pieces. So
Hmm.
the kids had to learn to cut on their own. They had to learn to thread normal needles and stitch. And I keep telling them, you can't make a mistake. Keep
Hmm.
going. You may be the next Van Gogh, Picasso, who knows, Monet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they hung him up, and I mean, everybody was thrilled. So the Mid-Atlantic Grant people actually came and we had supper together, and they were like, "Wow, you're serving a really underserved group here." And I said, "Well, thank you." So the next year we got a grant and we did outside art. And Paul, who never said 2 words the first year, the second year they had to dig holes, mix cement, um, cut wood, nail wood together, wire stuff, um, put marbles down tubing. So it would be, multi-sensory too. Paul said at the end, he's like, "Can I say something in the video?" I was like, "Oh my God, yeah." He goes, "This is the best thing I ever done in my life. Can you please get me into school so I can learn sculpture?" Um, and I did. And he was when we started out. Let me back up a little bit. The first year, I did blind contour drawing with them. When you actually feel an object with
Hmm.
one hand and draw with the other hand,
Hmm.
and it's really hard for sighted students to do this because they always want to look and cheat and see how well they're drawing.
Hmm.
And I said, people were surprised how realistic the drawings were from these blind students. And so what we did with him, we took that same technique and he did small sculptures. So now he's selling in New York City, but he doesn't want anybody to know he's born without any eyes at all.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So that's really inspiring for me to see somebody do that well in life.
Yeah, and it sounds like he didn't even know that he
He
had
didn't
that
know. No.
talent.
Mm-mm.
So you brought something out in him. So you are an artist, a musician. What other sort of creative ways do you express yourself? Is there anything you've left out?
I don't think so.
That's enough to keep you quite busy.
I hate to be bored.
Yeah.
I just don't want to waste 1 minute of my life because I know how short life is.
Yeah.
I know how the struggle to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. And your training, I guess training is always, right?
Yeah,
As
I
a
know
runner.
how much more I have to train for the New York City
Right.
Marathon after this weekend. Yeah.
Right.
And, I was not concerned about my time. I just want to tweak my technique and hydrate and see how I felt and how my shoes felt.
Yeah.
And I was happy. And I wasn't sore. Um, and
How do you train each and every day? Does someone go out with you?
my dog,
Oh, you don't.
my dog,
Oh, your dog.
my
Okay.
dog. Yes.
Well, I have to tell you, when I think of, and I don't know if you remember, there was some gathering that came from Washington Seminar. It was after Washington Seminar where
Okay.
there was a reception in one of the Senate office buildings. I don't remember which one. Tom Ridge was there
Right.
and Bob Casey was there.
Right. I was there.
Yeah. And you were, well, the memory that I have is finding our way to the room because nobody knew where the elevator was. And you said, oh, the dog knows, he'll find it or she'll find it.
Yeah.
And you said, find the elevator, and boom, the dog took us to the elevator.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
That's a
So
great
I always
story.
think of that when I think, boy, what else could the dogs do if you really get into it with them? So okay.
Right. And I make sure I don't do too much mileage with her. I have people here that I can go out with too, but she's a type of dog. Her puppy raiser ran cross country and he let her run with her.
Wow.
So she just enjoys the activity.
And you've had her how long, Passle?
Oh, going on 5 years. She'll be 7 in October.
Wow.
Solid muscle, doesn't act her age at all. Right now I tell people she's 6 going on 2, and then when she's 7, I'll say she's 7 going on 3. So, and she has a normal vet and she has a rehab / sports medicine vet too. So if we do anything, we make sure Dr. Nesser checks her out before and after.
Yeah.
And she tells me how to hydrate her and check her paws and when to give her a little bit of nutrition. So she's a happy dog.
And I think that's as far as dogs go. We have a almost 2-year-old golden retriever also,
Okay.
and he is not trained at all like that. We're happy if he will stay in the back seat, even though he's buckled in. He's found a way to get himself undone, and so forth and so on. And it's just kind of funny to hear the potential of a dog in your dog, and then Ziggy, our dog. Going back to the art, if there is someone who's listening, whether they're a parent of a blind child or a blind adult, and they're interested in getting started in art, what would you recommend?
Roll up your sleeves, put on an apron. Sorry, my aphasia is kicking in for my stroke, and do it. Don't have any fear about it. Just have fun. That's how I tell people when I teach. Just have fun. Enjoy the moment. You never know what you discover in art or in yourself.
And just like anything else, we were doing a podcasting seminar over the weekend. Just like anything else, whether you start in art or on YouTube or in podcasting, the beginning's never going to be pretty. It's always going to be a learning experience, and just do it so you build your confidence and you build your skills.
Exactly.
You are quite an inspiration. Thank you very much for sharing your story and never giving up. What a great example.
And never look back.
Yeah.
Only look forward.
Yeah. Do you have your work posted anywhere that people could see it?
I think it's in the Fredericksburg website in Fredericksburg, Virginia, the FCCA gallery. I know Second Sense has some of my work on their site. NPA has some of my work on their site. I just do what I do.
I have one more question. Your name, Passle.
That's my nickname, my artist name.
Ah, okay.
Because I was a left-handed child in a Catholic school growing up, and it was a sign of the devil to write with your left hand. So the nuns,
Wow.
the nuns would do things to make you not write with your left hand, to switch your hands. And so I started stuttering. So they sent a note home to my parents saying, "We got the devil out of your daughter, but now she's being antisocial. She's not speaking."
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So they put me in a
dear.
play and they said, "Go out there." And I was a narrator and I had to say the word castle.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you stutter,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so they said, "Okay, opening night, go out there and say palace." So I, Rosanna Dana Anna, said Passle. So that was and then I found out if I sign my artwork Passle,
Mm-hmm.
nobody knows if I'm male or female.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows my ethnic background.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I sign my artwork is Passle.
And nobody else has it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So unique in every way.
Oh, thank you for that. I don't fit in the normal groove. Can you tell? I never have, and I'm okay with not a whole lot of friends in my life because I'm not a groupie or anything. It's just the way I am. And I'm all about helping people, encouraging people to do more, move forward, and connect them to the right group at the right time in their life.
What an inspiration. Thank you again for coming on, sharing your
Oh,
journey.
thank you. And again, I don't do more than 5 miles with my dog. I have to say that publicly.
Oh yeah, the
my
guide dog
skills.
police might come after you, right?
Well, yes, but I take care of her. But at the half marathon, my husband says she knew when you were like 20 minutes out. She was like, "Okay, she's coming. She's coming. She's coming. She's coming." And we crossed the finish line. She literally pulled him towards me, and the person who was handing out medals, and she's like, here's a medal for your dog." She was like, and she could tell she was like, she's coming, she's coming, she's coming. And all the water stops, people are saying, "Where's your dog?" I said, "This is too far for her to go." "Where's your dog? We're used to seeing your dog at 5Ks. I said, "It's too far for her to go."
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. We're going to do a 5K with her soon. She'll be happy dog again.
Thanks again, Passle.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks again to Passle for stopping in and telling us about all the great stuff she's doing. And it's just incredible what's going on in her life, Lisa.
Yeah, and it sounded like you were kind of inspired, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I've always wanted to do, whether I've seen some things on TV, and I've just always had, and I guess I get it from my mom, I've always had an eye for funny to say when you can't really see, for doing things like that. And it wasn't that way when I was a kid. I obviously like drawing like any other kid, but I would love to start doing something. And I kind of do it now when I create logos and design different things for folks on the computer. But it's a little bit different when you're doing it with an actual brush or a pen or something like that. So it's definitely something that I'm going to give a go in the near future.
So you heard it here, everyone. We're going to hold David accountable. He's going to do this someday. Right?
And that's how you get stuff done. When somebody else knows of what you want to do, they'll keep your feet to the fire to make sure it gets done.
Yeah. Passle was really an inspiration, and we'll be following her for sure.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how things go down with the New York Marathon coming up in the fall. Again, a great story, someone great to follow along with.
Yeah. So if you have a story, we would love to hear from you. What's going on in your chapter? What are you personally pursuing outside of NFB? Are you running a marathon? Are you painting something magnificent? Let us know. Send us an email at whitecanesconnect@gmail.com.
You can also reach out on the telephone, 267-338-4495. You've got up to 3 minutes to leave your information. And again, just leave your name or a nickname and where you're calling from. And then give us questions, comments, show ideas, reviews, whatever you've got. Maybe you've got a tip on something that could help other blind folks around their house or while they're out navigating. their surroundings. We'd love to hear it. Again, 267-338-4495.
Yeah. Great show, David.
Yes, that was a very good show and fun to listen to all the great things Passle is doing. Good to be with you again, Lisa. And thanks everyone for listening. Take care.
Bye, everybody.